encourage people to innovate. Is that right, Iain? Off you go.
Me again. Right, so today I'm going to be speaking to you about how do you unleash innovation? You know, how do you get that latent ability which is there in all the members of your staff? And how do you have it not just stuck in a corner or stuck in a cupboard? Because certainly I know a lot of people have felt very frustrated in their jobs because their potential has not been released. So I've already given you a bit of background about Alder. I'm now going to show off a little bit more by showing you the picture. Now, that is genuinely what it looks like. It is a hospital that has the park integrated into the roof. It's a level 3 trauma centre. It's got 16 state-of-the-art operating theatres. It really is a piece of work. The reason it looks so eco and so green is because we got the kids to design it. No normal architect would have done this. And they wanted something which showed health. And every time they thought of health, they drew a tree, they drew nature, they drew a picture like that. So that's why we made it a hospital, but a hospital in the park. And it's not just a hospital, it's a system, it's a community. It's got a whole park associated with it and a whole build on the outskirts, from community and hubs to psychiatric services that are being built right now, bereavement villages. It's the whole thing. It's not just a hospital, it's a system. I like to think of it as the NHS's Ferrari, and I kind of have the keys to that, because what I get to do, I check that, for instance, like every ward has a little grass infinity deck on the end of it, so that the kids can get outside. It's just nice little touches like that. So this is what I get to do in my job. So half of my time I am a paediatric surgeon. I get to operate on tiny little babies right the way up to big 16-year-olds who've been run over by cars. But the other half of my job is I get to be the clinical director of innovation there, which means I get to try all the new things and try and bring them into the hospital and try and encourage innovation. Now, this is our innovation hub. It's 1,000 square meters of underground, like Batcave-esque med tech development zone. It's a co-creation spot. It's a place where we bring academics and scientists and researchers and clinicians and patients together to try and come up with ideas. And we've learned a lot over the years, and I'm going to try and get them across in some of the case studies which I have here today. But it really is a whole lot of fun. Within the Innovation Hub, we've got a number of different things, from immersive labs to VR units. But one of our recent things, one of, I'll be honest, favourite things, is a rapid prototyping centre, where we try and get clinicians to kind of think of something and try and make a quick prototype. Could be digital, could be physical, and it's a lot of fun. Now, this doesn't just all happen by having a big room. It needs to have a team, and we've got a great team, a rapidly expanding team. We now have 23 people devoted to innovation in healthcare, working out of our innovation hub. And we're kind of split into 3 groups, and it's a very diverse bunch of people, lots of really different skill sets and thoughts and ways of doing things. We've got our AIHQ. This is all about data. These are our data analysts, the people that work with information which has been generated by the hospital to make new things. We've got the Launchpad team, which are the kind of crazy people blowing stuff up, trying to come up with new ideas, trying to shake things out of the system. We've got a full innovation process, how we harvest ideas from the hospital, how we encourage people to think about things, how we prototype them and just get them going. Then we've got the growth team, and this is all about paying the bills. This is how do we bring resource into the hospital, how do we make the deals, how do we protect IP? And these all work together to encourage innovation in the hospital and hopefully to unleash it. Just some examples. You've probably seen the stand out the front. We've done all sorts of different things. This is an example of some of the 3D printing work that we've been doing. So we have a 3D print hub down there. We do that in partnership with 3D Life Prints, another Liverpool company. And what we do in this unit is so for instance here in this picture, we've got a 3D printed spine, which is sterilizable. This was the first time we did it in the UK, so that the surgeons could take it into theatre with them. They could have something to refer to as they were looking at the patient. And I think it's cool is we can use it to discuss it with the parents and their family as well, really make them understand what's going on. We do a lot of AR and immersive work. So that this is Rafael Guerrero, one of our cardiac surgeons. He works on immersive augmented reality environments to help in surgery. And right down to the fact that we can give tours of the hospital with people at home. We just put one of these headsets on the member of staff. They go and do a tour. They'll show the kids where they're going to come and be treated. I mean, it really saves a lot of time for people coming up to the hospital. Another really simple thing, because not all innovation is high-tech and super fancy. We made a really bold move of not having a central kitchen in the hospital. We went for having a chef and a kitchen on every ward. And the benefit of that is kids eat when they want to eat, and kids will eat only certain things. So you got to tailor it for them. And you think having a chef in every ward would be really expensive, but this is actually cheaper because we saved money by not throwing out all the food which the kids refuse to eat, and they get better faster. And we get the best chefs as well, because what job experience that is, the satisfaction of feeding a child and watching them get better. Your food is your medicine. And so a simple thing there, but an effective one. Now that's kind of who we are, but I think it's almost more important to think about what are we all about? Why are we doing this? What is the driver? And I always use, and some of you have seen this many times before, but I use this just to hammer it home. This is a paint in my fields, Liverpool resident, and he lost a child to tuberculosis. It was well over 100 years ago, before Alder was even built. And he painted this painting in response to it called The Doctor. Some people see the sick child in the centre, and other people see the caring doctor that's been there all night. And others look at the parents, the emotionally shredded mum and the dad with a look in his face that hasn't changed in 100 years of, I don't care what you're going to do, mate, just get on and do it. But I think I see something different in that he's doing it all wrong. Right? Her airway's in the incorrect position, no IV fluids, no oxygen. Who knows what that medication is, it's not labelled. He's doing it all wrong. If I went into our hospital, filled a backpack, jumped in a time machine, went back, I could fix that. It'd be easy. What would have been impossible for that guy, no matter how caring he was or how well he trained. And that's what 100 years of innovation has done. And in our hospital right now, it's full of children with conditions. In 100 years' time, we'll look at it and go, that's easy to fix, isn't it? You just need a meta-ion infuser, right as rain by tomorrow. And it can't wait. Okay? We can't wait another 100 years. It has to be faster. So innovation is about speed and it's about drive. So why is it so difficult? Why is healthcare innovation viewed as being a really difficult thing to do? And why do we fail so often at it? And it really frustrates me as well, because what is the thing which is holding it all back? Now, I'll go through some of the case studies to explain to you why, but a lot of it is, people are just trying to be safe, and they're comfortable in what is safe, and they don't want to move outside of that area. But we have to apply the pressure to do that. Now, I can't talk about this without talking about coronavirus, because coronavirus really, threw things into sharp relief, I think, really showed us what the problems really were and what we needed to do to move quickly. Because, my goodness, we move quickly. In the last year, I've done more work, I think, than the last 5 years beforehand. Or maybe not more work, but more outputs. Because suddenly, all these things started to get taken off, all of these blockers and barriers. And it's been an interesting time to view healthcare innovation. Now, we have done tons of stuff. I mean, this is just, I think just the rapid prototyping centre alone knocked out 40 prototypes in the last year. And that's just a rapid prototyping centre, not all the immersive projects, not all the data projects, all the things with community and mental health. I mean, it was really, an explosive period. And I'm going to pick out a couple of them just to examine why we think that these people had their kind of latent innovation released within them. So, what changed? Okay, so this is the team at work near the start of the outbreak of the pandemic, starting to identify, what were the problems out there and how we could help the various clinicians and various teams. Now, oh look, it's a video. I hadn't realised that. So, problem number one: have less staff in the hospital. Now, I'm going to show you this one here. So, in the top right corner, we've got Simon Minford. He's one of our clinical innovation consultants. He's an advanced nurse specialist, our lead for telemedicine. And he had been working for a long time, in fact, about 5-6 years now, on creating a platform so that parents could see their babies at home. Okay? So when the parents were at home, they wanted to see their baby in our neonatal unit, they could see them so they wouldn't be separated. And he'd also been working on a similar system where we could use camera technology for clinicians to have input, no matter where they were in the region. Because we have babies over the women's hospital who get transferred to us to have surgery. We need sometimes a neonatal opinion from the women's hospital and the babies we have over here. We were doing a lot of driving around town. And he'd spec'd out this project. He'd done all the work on it, but we just couldn't progress it. He'd figured out which robots we're going to use. He'd done workshops at the Mayo Clinic around their use of it. And then the pandemic hit, and suddenly we were going to lose half of our staff to shielding, who were doing the specialist neonatal work. My goodness, what we're going to do with the unit? We're just going to have to go, just do it. And that was just, it wasn't the case of like, oh, should we wait for this meeting? Should we do this? It was like, no, here's the money. Let's just do it. Let's get it. And we did it. We got these robots and we deployed them around the units. We deployed them in the women's hospital. We deployed them in our HDU, in our neonatal intensive care department. And now, if I need to see a baby quickly, I could do it from this lectern if I had to. If someone said, Iain, I need you to look at this now, I can. And that just happened. And why was it why was it so difficult beforehand? It was that element of just doing it and realizing the resource is important, that we can't delay some of these things. So now, I don't have to drive around town. Instead of taking 2 hours to go and see a baby, it takes me 5 minutes now, because I just log in from anywhere, from home. And we're looking to roll this out over the rest of the region, because it's dangerous to transfer babies around, and it's dangerous for them to have delays to being evaluated. And also we used it so that the Liverpool and Everton football teams could virtually visit all the kids in the wards as well, so it had multiple uses. Here's a problem for you. Reliable face covers. So this is one of our paediatric surgeons, Roland Partridge, another one of the innovation team. And we actually were feeling quite smug about this. We picked the face covers things very early on. We were thinking, right, okay, we're going to need to have face covers. And we wanted everyone in the hospital to have them when they arrived, to be able to give them out. And we thought it was going to be supply chain issues, and we wanted it to be really good as well. So he was like, right, let's get on this. Let's design a mask. So he, in his garage and started designing, high quality face covers for patients. And you can see he's got various iterations there. And what's finishing up on the right is the final version. This version, the one you'll have seen us all wearing up on our stand. And this was made in partnership with a number of British companies, and is made in one of the last cotton mills in the UK. And not only that, we managed to get onto the face of both Govey and the Health Secretary. So how did we do this in such a short period of time, get something which then went on to sell a lot, and we're selling a lot of these at the moment, and we made a commercial deal around the back of it. And my take home from this was that Roland's got great links now with the manufacturing industry, with industry. So he could take a knocked up prototype and put it in front of the people who really know how to make these things very, very quickly, and then get it out there. And the thing that was different in coronavirus is people were falling over themselves to work with us and to help us. It gave me a really warm feeling, but it was really, it was amazing, the manufacturing partners that were coming out of the woodwork to help us with this. So it supercharged it, got it going. Okay, here's another problem. How do we communicate with masks on? Now, this is a really big problem for anyone who needs to lip read. Suddenly, everyone in the world wearing a mask. And in particular, it's a problem for Wendy here, who's one of our senior speech and language therapists, because she spends her entire day teaching children how to speak. And if they can't see her face, and she can't see their face, that's not going to work very well. So she put out the problem, right, okay, how do we fix this? And we loved this problem when it came into the Innovation Hub. In fact, so we started working on it, and this is the prototype version that we created, this clear mask here. So it's got a clear front bit and a filtration area around the base of it. And what was fun about this was about how it was an engagement with the design process, because we brought in professional designers to work on this mask with us, after we'd done the rapid prototyping with Wendy, to bring in all of her years and years of experience of what makes good communication. And then we brought in these professional design teams and started applying design methodology. And again, this is not something that your average healthcare professional gets exposed to how to do proper design workshops and use a proper design methodology. So that was really fascinating to see how you take someone who you wouldn't have thought would be out there making products which could potentially be being sold across the world, to suddenly doing this type of design workshopping. And I think it's absolutely critical that healthcare professionals have access to this if you really want to unleash the ideas which are within there. The thing that also cracks me about the clear mask thing was I was like, I wasn't really sure about it, because I was like, someone's bound to do it before us. Amazingly, nobody has, so watch this space. Here's a nice little problem, again, which will show some of the things which allow innovation to be unleashed from clinicians. Stopping contact spread. So at the start of the whole pandemic, the big thing was, don't touch anything. It's on every surface. This is how it gets spread. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. And what we were thinking about was we'd actually got involved in a competition well before coronavirus. And the competition we got involved with was designing something for the space station, because the space station has bad problems with infection. And we're looking to, it could be 3D print something which will reduce infection spread. And I'd kind of thought, what if you could print your own handle that you could put on airlocks? And that way, when you go through an airlock in space station, only you'd be the person who'd ever touched it, because it was your handle, you were just moving from door to door. But I kind of thought it probably a bit off for me to enter a children's competition, which it was, so we kind of shelved it. But then when the pandemic came along, we're like, right, okay, how are we going to create handles for personal handles to go around the hospital? And we thought, we carry around this all the time. ID badges, can we somehow change them? So that's basically just an ID badge that's got a hook on it and a handle, so you can push the door open or hook it towards you, and also touch buttons with it. We did this in a really kind of rapid prototyping center. And these are all of the iterations. And what was great is because we just happened to have access to high-end 3D printers in our hospital with 3D life prints. So we worked with them really quickly through a rapid prototyping center. And you can see from the left to the right, the left-hand one, big old hook on it. It was snapping all the time. We changed the hook a bit, still snapping. Shortened the hook down, actually switched sides on it. Seemed to work, but then the main bit was snapping. had the handle the wrong height. We went through, actually, I think about 13 different prototypes until we got to the injection molded one on the far right-hand side. Now, we did all of this in under 3 months. And the far right-hand side one is an injection molded mass production one, so that we could make one for every single person in the hospital. So it was accelerated at pace by having rapid prototyping abilities, of which 3D printing is just amazing for. I mean, the 3D printing is one of the key components of rapid prototyping, because you can just make it. And you can do the same thing with digital as well. You can just make these things these days and just try them out. And we got that as well onto Amazon, which is probably the most difficult part of all of this. And thank goodness 3D Live Prints did that for us, because getting something onto Amazon involves an awful lot of work. Spotting patterns. Now, this is Iain, who is one of our respiratory physicians. Now, he is a legend, a real champion for getting rid of healthcare inequalities, and he in particular is passionate about asthma. Asthma in Liverpool, 20% higher rates than the rest of the country. Children die from asthma every year. It's a massive, massive problem. And he had a hunch that there's a pattern to it. Okay, how do we spot the pattern in asthma attacks? Because what we're looking for is the kids coming up to emergency department with an uncontrolled asthma attack. If they have an uncontrolled asthma attack, then clearly they're not being treated very well. The condition is not being got to correctly. How do we target the best care at the kids who are more than likely to come into our hospital with an out-of-control asthma attack? Now, in the past, it would have been very difficult to find these patterns in air pollution and social deprivation and housing. But now, with our AI HQ, with our dedicated data teams, with all the time and effort we've put into the data in our hospital, we can now pinpoint it. We can now go, there you go. That's where the risk people are. How do you get the education out to those GP practices? How do we address the housing in those areas? So his, hunch was catalyzed by having access to the right people. Running out of PPE. This was the big anxiety at the start of the whole outbreak. Now, this is Rachel. This is one of our pediatric surgeons. But in addition, she's also works at university. And she thought, well, what if we could clean the masks that we were using so we could use them again? Instead of chucking them out, what if we could reuse them? And we had access to this hydrogen peroxide fogging chamber at the university. And they were like, yeah, okay, you can use it. So we thought, right, we can clean them using this kind of high-tech cleaning device. But what does that do to the masks? Do they still work? Would we still wear them? Are they toxic? Is it killing all the bugs that are on it? Is it changing the structure of it? So what we did is we have got Contacts Innovation Hub with a Materials Innovation Factory, a number of big companies around the patch, and we got access to some of the coolest material scientists. They were just amazing. They knocked it out of the park. They took all these masks, they took it down to the electron microscope layer. They were looking at the ultrastructure of the mask. They were looking at cross-linking. They were looking at how does the charge even change in the mask and its filtration properties. And we came up with a really nice, bit of research off the back of it around, could we or couldn't we use these masks. Now, the advantage we had in Innovation Hub is that we had all of these links. We had access to these scientists. So what we could do is we could really unleash, her thoughts and her ability just by putting her in contact with the right type of scientists. And that is really important with people in hospitals, is that we don't get out much. We need to be able to interact with people, new, diverse thoughts, diverse sets of skills. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to, to get to these new innovations. So we actually even invented a box that would allow the fumigation of these masks correctly. So, what do we learn? Just to recap, because it's amazing what is there, what is already there in people's heads, and what capabilities are there if you put the right things in front of them, if you give them the right tools. So there's that permission to just do it and give them the resource and give them the time. That is key. If you've got rapid prototyping facilities, that is key, the ability to try and fail, that permission to fail as well, and that rapid prototyping capability. Next thing is you've got data, new types of science. You need to be able to give them access to that, let them interact with scientists. And thirdly, I think you've just got to accept that it's just what you should be doing. Okay? Innovation is part of modern healthcare, and to not do it, I think, is really not in the spirit of things. So with that, I know we're probably a bit early, but I'll end. Any questions at all, or anything anyone to add?
Thanks, Iain.
No trouble.
Any questions from the audience? Feel free to raise. Oh, here we are. I think can we get a microphone, guys? Jerry?
Do you want to hand this one out? Yeah.
Just say it. Just say it.
Hi, Iain. I'm going to ask an awkward question.
Go for it.
With your clear mask, how do you prevent fogging of that? What issues with fogging?
Yeah, so you've got to get a nice anti-fogging coating on the inside. That's key. But fogging is one of the key problems with clear masks, and I've seen a number of very unhygienic-looking masks given the amount of fogging you have on the inside. But it's amazing what you can do with different types of coating, and the more expensive the coating you get, the better result you get.
Any other questions for anybody? Okay, so I've got a question for you, Iain. So you've done a great job here. You've innovated. You've got a whole department. How do we bring innovation into the heart of every organization? That's always been one of my challenges I have. And it's kind of, I've been bashing this for a long time. How do you replicate what you've done elsewhere?
Yeah, so it's not good enough just to have great ideas. I think you've got to be able to demonstrate the value of it to everybody. Because hospitals are really neurodiverse places, I think is the best way to describe it. You've got some people who just love this type of thing. They love coming up with the new ideas and trying to think of the box, and you're always going to get them. Yeah. The key to it is, how do you get the middle tranche, the ones that are like, well, I want to see some evidence of what the impact is. I would like to see some resource coming back in. I want to see this in the language that we understand and we are familiar with. So I think one of the key things for me has been building a team so that it can get what we're trying to do across to the whole organization and to hit everyone, so that everyone goes, yes, this is a good idea. And I think one thing that I'm hoping that helps is that Alder's been on this journey for 7 years, and it's been really helped in the last 2 years by grasping this concept of how do we make it make sense to the entire organization. I hope now that we can translate that to other hospitals and go, look, if you invest, if you give people this time, if you put these different types of structures in place, you will see these benefits.
Yeah, sure.
Because we're always going to get the people who just want to come up with new ideas because they think it's the right thing to do. We've got them. It's the middle bit.
Thank you so much. Iain, thank you so much for coming and supporting us so much. Thank you. So, over the years, Giant has really supported startups, SMEs, to share their stories, to showcase their products or solutions. And so this year is no different. Normally, we get together. We've been at the Chelsea Football Club for many years, and we have the whole one floor with about 200 or 300 startups all talking about their work, and then they compete for the Giant Prize. So now we're going to have a couple of sessions on early startups and SMEs who will be pitching to investors and VCs that we picked from the UK and elsewhere. And similarly, we've got other in the European cities of the next 4 days, we've got similar kind of startup competitions. We used to give the winners a certain amount of funding, also support from to promote their business, to work with them, to make it work. So it was exciting for them to come up and be part of this conversation, and we really enjoy having them around. So the next sessions that I'm going to be handing over to our moderators. Now, some of the startups are here in another room. Some of them are remote. And we've got the investors and the VCs and the moderators all in different places. So hopefully we can get all the tech working so they can all be together at the same place at the same time. Are we good, guys? Is it going to be working? Jerry, all good? Should we go if we're happy? And I'll join you back later for the last 2 sessions of the day, which will be a live, virtual, and someone speaking to us at the end. So hopefully you can still stay to the end. Yeah, we're good to go, everyone?